Kayda was telling Zach not everyone is going to move at Trinity and Bryce's speed, but this is coming from a couple that had sex within the first couple of weeks. That's actually the speed you shouldn't be moving at if you're going to be with a guy who's afraid to then call you his girlfriend eventually. What's up again, fellow Love Island USA watchers? Here to talk about last night's episode of the show. I have some quick thoughts because the season limped along last night as we had more confusion as to what exclusive means with a relationship. We had Kc trying to make a big show of asking Titi to be his girlfriend because that's normal, and Melanie and Sincere in the Hideaway. I guess we'll start with the damn Hideaway. Yes, the rest of the Islanders put Melanie and Sincere in the Hideaway. Sincere gifted the Hideaway after all of his bullshit this season. Melanie said in confessional that she doesn't know if they will be clapping cheeks that night, but really the only cheeks that need to be clapped are the ones on Sincere's face for the way he treated her this summer. But seriously, was this supposed to be a feel-good moment? Because it felt pretty icky to me. My girlfriend stopped watching the show last week. She was over it, but she's been saying all season that Melanie needs to just get off with Sincere one time and get it out of her system, and maybe she would finally realize that he ain't shit. But unfortunately, I think it's too late in the game for that to help the situation. So I think if they did end up doing it, it might just make Melanie feel worse. She felt nervous in the Hideaway at first. They did a lot of talking, started talking about their moms. Sincere thinks his mom will call her stupid. Melanie thinks her mom wouldn't even be mad at Sincere. Well, Melanie must get it from her mama then. So I don't know if they did it or not. They were acting coy with the other Islanders, although when they came back together towards the end of the episode, it seemed like they did do more than just a few sexual things. It seems like they could have went all the way, even though they told the Islanders separately, the men and the women, that they did some things but didn't go all the way. I don't know. Don't really care though. Either way, it was not a good look for Melanie, but what else is new this season? Bryce told Trinity that what they have is so special. He says he always wants to be next to her, wants to spend time with her all the time. They make each other happy. Bryce talked about how coming back from Casa was the happiest he's been in a long time. And I do believe this depressed water sign man when he says these kind of things. They discussed how they didn't live close but really want to make it work. Bryce talking about how she's not going to be in Virginia at all. I think Bryce is going to make them be as close as possible. I think Bryce, we had a couple other couples discussing long distance in this episode and how they're going to make it work. Bryce said, we ain't going to be long distance. Bryce says that they handle fights well, then they made out. Not a big edit for them again, but it's kind of the usual for Bryce and Trinity. And I think they have been the most consistent. Carl and Annayia, he gave her some beads that are Buddhist, says these beads keep him in the moment. Annayia likes that Carl is always bringing positivity, and she is grateful that he is there. They discussed how or where they're going to meet up after the show. He has to be in Denver for the next 3 years doing his physical therapy training, and they discussed how long distance would be tough. But she said she wants to go to Denver because she wants to learn how to ski. And so, yeah, this is one of the couples discussing how they're going to make long distance work because they are going to be living separate places. She talked about how he checks every box. And then when Carl was talking to Zach later in this episode, when Zach was asking Carl his type, Carl did say his type was tall, athletic girls. So obviously Annayia fits that, which we knew coming in with Carl. I still don't quite feel Annayia and Carl as much as others do. It's not that I'm not feeling them, but this couple seems to make some people out there very giddy, which is good. So yeah, there's a lot of people giddy about these two. I think they are two very nice people with a lot in common, and they are compatible. I can't say they make me feel giddy though. Kayda told Trinity that she and Zach are exclusive. This became a big talking point of this episode. It's been a big talking point, though, because Trinity is also confused as to what that means in this specific situation for Kayda and Zach. Trinity, however, started calling it situationship, which I don't think Kayda took kindly to. But, they celebrated this in the moment. But when Kayda was talking to Zach about Trinity's situationship comment, this is when it slowly started to turn into a bigger discussion, especially with the next day with the girls, which we will get to. First, though, Annayia got a secret text, had to wake up the girls and sneak away. Annayia had to crawl around waking up the girls. Some of them she scared the hell out of, like Titi and Melanie. But yeah, they even had to go to the hideaway to get Melanie out of the hideaway. At least all the girls went to do that, not just Annayia. And then when Melanie came out, she talked about in confessional how she would rather be in the hideaway. The next morning, the guys woke up to the girls not being there. Sincere woke up in the hideaway to Melanie not being there. Didn't seem to worry or panic much because he went back to sleep. Kc and Zach had shitty comments. What else is new from these two? They don't seem to like women very much. Kc talking about how peaceful it was without the girls. Zach acting like he was at peace too. He could see that the sky is so blue. Some of the guys happy that they didn't have to cook breakfast. So yeah, some of the guys seemed relieved without the girls there. The girls went away to the water park and had the water park to themselves to have fun and ride the rides. Annayia made a speech about how she hopes they can be friends for a long time. They made a cheers. They asked Melanie about the hideaway. That's when she said they didn't have full sex, but they did some other bases, or that's what she says anyway. Maybe she's trying to not look stupid again when it comes to Sincere. Kenzie talked about Dylan and how she keeps having to apologize. At the same time, with the women gone, Dylan was getting advice from Carl, who was talking him through everything. Carl, much like Bryce, seems to be one of the cancer men, one of the elder cancer men that the other guys go to for relationship advice. Maybe they are just more mature and have more experience. I don't know, but they do seem to give a lot of advice these days. Titi was talking about Kc and how great he is. Even said she loves him. Then she took it back and said, it's not like I love him, but I love me some of him. She talked about how that's her man. She talked about how she's never brought anyone home before. She even got emotional. She says he's the first guy that makes her feel wanted. They all hugged her. I am giving TT the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to believe her here because I actually do think TT has become good television. She's actually been good television the whole time. However, she has been on other dating shows before, so that's definitely something that makes me go, is this real? You've never felt wanted before, even though you've been on other dating shows. Kc was talking about TT and how she's a real one that stands by him, and he wants to close things off. Kc talked about his history of not fully committing, and Kc wants to make TT his girlfriend. This is when he planned the whole scavenger hunt with clues. Back at the girls, Annayia talked about how she really likes Carl. She's going to go to Denver and other places to see him. Trinity talked about Bryce and how Bryce was always locked in on her face and how he said he always looks for Trinity and that she likes awkward Bryce. I do think we are seeing with Bryce, the more that this season has continued, that he really just loves being around Trinity. He does. They are always together in the background. Kayda talked about the exclusive thing with Zach. The girls talk about it, and Trinity called it a situationship again. Kayda got upset, said it's not a situationship, which I wouldn't consider a situationship either, because Melanie or someone said that it needs a situation to be a situationship. Annayia talked about how exclusive is like boyfriend and girlfriend, but like it is to me. This is what I talked about yesterday. Exclusive should be the same thing as being boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, you're just afraid of the label. That's so strange to me. It doesn't make sense. But, after Aniya says that, Kayda has to say it's not quite that. But then Kayda struggled to explain exactly what it means because it's stupid. Zach just doesn't want to commit to something serious, and Kayda has to go with it because she likes Zach more than he likes her. And another reason why Kayda does sound dumb in these 2 episodes describing this is because Kayda has been exclusive with Zach the whole time. She has never explored. She has never not acted exclusive with him. And yet Zach still does not want to be labeled as her boyfriend or label her as his girlfriend. I hope Kayda learns from this experience one day. She's young and all, but she sounds dumber and dumber as this season goes along. Kayda did find solace in Kenzie, of course, who agreed about the exclusive terms. Kayda is frustrated with some of the girls not understanding what it is. Zach says it's not a situationship. They are exclusive, and it will progress. I've seen some Kayda stans defend this, saying, well, they live on different countries, which is true. Kayda and Zach are going to be split apart by not just states, but countries, by an ocean. So maybe it's better to just say they're exclusive. But it's really just an excuse for Zach to one day say, you're not my girlfriend, so, I can do this, I can do that, I can do all these shitty things probably. Like, there's zero reason for us to trust Zach from everything we've seen this season. Zach said that Bryce also doesn't understand the girlfriend thing being a bigger step. But no, I think Bryce legit thinks it's nonsensical because it is. How is there this period of being exclusive without calling yourself boyfriend and girlfriend? Like, when you're dating one person in my lifetime that has always been considered boyfriend and girlfriend, but Gen Z apparently wants to complicate every little thing. Annayia, Trinity, and Melanie talked about not understanding Kayda and Zach not being boyfriend and girlfriend. Trinity continued to be adamant that it's a situationship. I don't agree with Trinity's label either. Kayda was telling Zach not everyone is going to move at Trinity and Bryce's speed, but this is coming from a couple that had sex within the first couple of weeks. That's actually the speed you shouldn't be moving at if you're going to be with a guy who's afraid to then call you his girlfriend eventually. Because Kayda has always shown Zach how much more into him she is than vice versa. And that's why Zach is able to basically make her look dumb now with all this labeling shit, or lack thereof. But that's the thing. The audience, we have always seen that Zach has always been shifty with where he really stands with Kayda. And Kayda won't listen to anybody about that, and I don't think she's going to listen when she gets out of the show either. Maybe she'll listen to her sister, hopefully. Quickly, for the 2 people that care, Kenzie told Dylan his feelings are valid, but, she needs him to believe her if they're going to work out. So they worked through their issues that they've been having for a few episodes now. Annayia got some new hair in this episode, I believe thanks to Trinity. We've had all of this negativity towards Annayia because of her hair all season long. And Annayia has been overly attacked since before the show even started. It's been easy for people to be sheep, to just come together to hate on Annayia. So I, for one, am happy to see her switch up her hair, maybe at least get a little less hate for a day. Kc ready to commit. He talked about how Titi showed him she is worthy of being his girlfriend. And there is that side of Kc again where he believes he is the princess in this scenario. But really that is red pill rhetoric again, because I've talked about this on this channel before, long before Love Island this season, about the high value man talk that goes on in the red pill community. And that's what Kc is acting like here. And I'm not saying that men should not, date people who they see as on the same level as them. But Kc all season has done it in a way of where the acts of service need to be done to him because he is lazy at wanting to be the one to put all the energy in a relationship. But also, Kc never says anything about, Titi's personality that he likes. It's always about what Titi does for him. And basically every time he describes Titi, it's as his bodyguard. But they did this whole scavenger hunt thing with pictures of Kc that the guys all helped out with. Dylan and Bryce, I thought, were very happy to have fun with this. Bryce, especially at the fire pit, was having fun with it. Kc ends up meeting her at the docks, gives her flowers. Kc tells her she makes him feel away because, she fights beside him. The funniest part of this whole episode to me is when everyone came to watch this happening, because, it was such a big deal made out of this. Dylan was trying to do the lip reading, and he's like, I really like you. I think you're super cute. That did crack me up. But yeah, Kc made this huge show out of asking Titi to be his girlfriend. Titi crying, Kc talking about how he's turning a new leaf and he wants Titi to be in this chapter. It was cheesy. I appreciate the effort. I like the idea, but I, of course, have things to say about this. So this is probably the part of the video that Kc stands should stop watching, because if not, you're just going to cry about it. Because yesterday the only comment I made was one little comment about Titi being fake, and then 8 minutes attacking Kayda, and I still had a crybaby Kc fan in the comments saying, why don't you say this about Kayda? I had 8 minutes of dragging Kayda. So once again, I'll say it, the Kc stands, the biggest crybabies. Nobody cries harder than them. But first of all, this was really showy. Like, he could have done the scavenger hunt and then did all of this in private, but everyone had to be there to watch. And then Titi also laughed and wanted to talk shit about the fact when Bryce and Trinity became boyfriend and girlfriend, and she wanted to be shady about that when that happened, but now they're making a big show out of it in front of everybody else. And I don't have a problem with them becoming boyfriend and girlfriend after a couple weeks, because I see people complaining about that. Because, again, in my day, it was normal to go on a couple of dates over a few weeks and become boyfriend and girlfriend. But what I really have to call bullshit on is Titi saying she loves Kc after 2 weeks. That is so fucking ridiculous. And I know she said it in confessional, but she still said it. She said, I love Kc, but don't let Kc know that. After 2 weeks, come on. Now, out of all the scamming allegations this season, that might be the damnest one. And you could see the illogical hypocrisy online, because some of the biggest Kc defender accounts, the biggest red-pilled guys out there that are really just a fan of Kc because they've been attacking Annayia all season, just a couple weeks ago, they were talking about how Bryce and Trinity becoming boyfriend and girlfriend in the villa are them just scamming for 100K. But now they're like, oh, this is what Love Island is all about, when it's clearly one of the bigger scams you'll ever see on the show. When you have to make a show of asking someone to be your girlfriend, that's insanity to me. When you're quite literally putting on a show in front of the rest of the Islanders, that doesn't exactly give natural. All that being said, I would love Titi on TV again. I think with or without Kc, give her a Beyond the Villa storyline. Like I said, I know she's been on dating shows before, scamming there too probably, but I actually think Titi has made for good television since she has been on the show. That brings us to the votes. So the show has us voting for 4 couples at the same time. And, after all I just said to make the Kc fans' tears flow, I really don't love the idea of Melanie and Sincere being in the finals. Sincere does not deserve to be in the final 4, but I think they're going to be there. I think Bryce and Trinity, Aniya and Carl, Melanie and Sincere are locks with this kind of voting style. I think Kenzie has to be a goner, I would think, because I just don't see any support for Kenzie and Dylan out there at all. I think the 4th spot will come down to Zach and Kayda versus Kc and Titi with the voting, because I just talked yesterday about how production and how they go about choosing who gets to the Final Four this year will say a lot. This is not a way I thought they would do it, but here's the thing. If enough of the fans of the core four, which are Trinity, Aniya, Kayda, Melanie, all vote the core four, plus if too many KC stands vote Zach and Kayda, then it's going to be pretty impossible for Kc and Titi to beat Zach and Kayda. Like, Kc and Titi stands had to go about this very strategic, and production made that so because a lot of the fans of the other couples are going to vote the core four. So Kc and Tiara fans, they can't vote for Zach and Kayda because I feel like that's who they're going against for the fourth spot. So I don't know if Kc and Titi fans did that out there. If you did, you might have screwed your favorites. I don't know, but I do think it comes down to those two. Plus, they didn't say for sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that the bottom two couples in this vote are going home. They still could do what production does and make it the top two or the top three in this vote get to save a couple to stay in, which still could put TT and Kc at a loss. We'll see what happens with this vote, but production is doing what production does, and I don't hate it because I don't think it's good for the show to have all these incels who have been hating on women all season, specifically Annayia.